Hello.
Hi, everybody. We come as a pair.
I'm Carl Spence, the artistic director, and this is
Ginny Krieger.
We're so excited to be here. This is Beau Bridges Day, and he's in the house. It's so exciting.
I'm just going to call out some special thank yous to sponsors, KHR, McNeely Family Fund, our official airline, Delta, the Fairmont Mission Inn, and Chihuly this evening for crafting a special piece for us.
Is that it? Oh, okay. I like holding the mic. Well, today is all about Beau Bridges, and, well, he's done a few things in his life. He's a 3-time Emmy and 2-time Golden Globe and 1-time Grammy Award winner, as well as 2-time Screen Actors Guild Award nominee. He's been in so many fantastic films and on TV series. It doesn't matter what he's in, he's always lights up the screen and is brilliant. I've watched, I revisited many of the films I've seen over the course of my film watching career that I've seen at a young age, mid-age, older age, and I'm still growing. I'm still just a kid. I feel like I'm just still a kid when I'm watching Beau Bridges films. I'm only going to mention a few because we do have a film we want to see. We want to hear from Beau. Fabulous Baker Boys, one of my favorite films of all time. It's his 35th anniversary. Jerry Maguire. How can you not forget Jerry Maguire? Sordid Lives. His range is pretty amazing. And one of my favorite films last year that not everyone saw, so you should see it. Write this down. Memorize it. Dreamin' Wild. It's a really wonderful film. You'll see a clip. And some iconic roles on TV shows, some guest spots. Will and Grace. He was fantastic as Jack's dad in Will and Grace. Desperate Housewives, Blackish, and hundreds of other roles in film and television across all genres. Anything you can think of, he has done it, and he's done it well. My honor to present Beau Bridges, the recipient of our Lifetime Achievement Award. Please welcome Beau Bridges to the stage.
Is this live? Oh, you can hear me. Hey, guys.
And we have this Chihuly glass piece that he designed for you as part of your award for the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Let's put it right down there.
Chihuly Studios.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right. So now, my turn to turn it over to our moderator host, if I don't fall over. She's a Los Angeles-based film critic, journalist, podcast host, and moderator. She reviews weekly film releases for the Tribune News Service and the Los Angeles Times. And she's vice president of the Los Angeles Film Critics Association. Please welcome Katie Walsh.
Hey, Katie.
I sort of did that.
Hi, Katie. How you doing?
Hi, Beau.
Hey, first of all, I want to congratulate Katie, if I may, the Sonoma International Film Festival. I think this is the 27th year, if I'm not mistaken. And the leaders and the staff, you've all done such a great job. My wife Wendy and I have had a wonderful time here. And yeah, it's really great. And this acknowledgement of my work is really a joy to my wife Wendy and our entire family, and I really appreciate that acknowledgement. It's fantastic. What really makes it special is that my dad Lloyd, who was also an actor, this is his parts of the world. He was born in San Leandro, and I visited his house on 3rd Street right here in Sonoma, where he was raised this morning. And then they moved to Petaluma. He went to Petaluma High School. So this is real special. And then I also have special friends in the audience that I want to recognize. These people I cherish. George and Donalea Sumner, wonderful couple there. They are environmental warriors. They protect the oceans and the creatures that live there. And George is a world-renowned painter. You should Google his stuff, it's great. And then Steve Tellez, who has Wild Creek Ranch Vineyards in Cloverdale, but he was also, before that incarnation, he was my agent at Creative Artists Agency. And he was the agent when I was doing Fabulous Baker Boys that you guys are going to see in a little bit. Anyway, just wanted to say that.
Well, it was so fun watching that clip reel, especially seeing Red Pony. How old were you when you made Red Pony?
Wow, yeah, I was probably about 6, and I was my dad always loved the ocean, and when he was a young guy, probably in his early 30s, he and a bunch of his actor friends bought a prefab shack, and they drove up the coast. I think it's somewhere around the Ventura County line, and through the shack, there was no road going down to the beach, and they just threw this shack down onto the beach and built it up, and we lived in there, and there was no other houses around except for one, and in that house lived Louis Milestone, very famous Academy Award winning director from way back in the day, and we called him Millie, or I did, and he was directing this movie, The Red Pony, and so kind of for fun, he put me in that movie.
It must have felt, I mean, you know, both of your parents are actors. It just must have felt like, oh, this is what I should do, or, you know, did you have any sort of conception of this is the family business at the time?
Yeah, you know, I went to work in my father's shop, so to speak. Wendy and I, we have 5 children. They all work in the business one way or another. My 2 sons, Casey and Dylan, work on the other side of the camera. Casey's a documentary filmmaker. Dylan is vice president of social media at Universal. And then my son, Jordan, is an actor. He was Frankie Rizzoli on Rizzoli and Isles for so many years. And then my only daughter, Emily, is an actress. She and I wrote a play called Acting the First 6 Lessons, which we performed in LA for a while, and then it was turned into a movie recently, about 2 years ago. She directed me in it. She was my boss. That was a little daunting. And then our son Ezekiel is an actor, and we have a couple of films that we're in coming out. There'll be one called Camera that will be premiering at the San Luis Obispo Film Festival coming up pretty quick.
You're both in Neon Highway as well.
And we're both in Neon Highway.
Yeah, that just came out a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I did that one in Nashville. It's just coming out. It'll be streaming soon in theaters across the country. But that was fun because I love country music, music of all kinds. But in that one, I got to hang in with some of the real guys, you know, the real players, Lee Brice, Rob Mays, Pam Tillis, and all the music is played live, which was a little scary for me, but it was fun.
So I've heard you in an interview describe yourself as a circus kid, like, because you're coming from a showbiz family. Mm-hmm. Is that what it felt like growing up, and then you created your own circus again with your kids, all in the business, joining the family business? Yeah,
I think my dad started that tradition. He loved working with the family. I remember I did a film that I also directed for Disney, where I cast my entire family in it, called The Thanksgiving Promise, and it ran for a long time. But I figured it was a family film, so why not put my family in it? And they basically, all of them, even my wife Wendy was in that one, pregnant with our daughter Emily, so she kind of appeared in it as well.
What's it like directing your parents?
Yeah, I worked a lot with my dad. I directed him in several films. And in that film, he would, you know, I remember one time we had a shot around a truck, and I had all my principal actors in it with my dad and me. Our characters were in it too. And I was trying to set it up, and he comes up to me, and he puts his finger down here low on his leg so he didn't think anyone could see it, and he kind of goes like this. Like he gestures around a corner. He wants to talk to me, right? So, you know, of course, all the crew saw him doing this and everything. I walk over to the side. I said, what do you say? You know, because time in doing this TV movie, you know, we do it in 2 weeks. It's kind of a grind. And he says, you know, you're never going to get this scene. He says, you've got half a day. You've got multiple actors. You need a crane. And I said, Dad, Disney can't afford a crane for this little show. He says, yeah, but it's going to cost them more if you don't get the scene. You got to have a crane. And I was really upset kind of with him. And we didn't get the scene. And the next day, I ordered a crane. And we shot the scene probably in a couple hours. And after that, every day, I would call him up. I'd say, Dad, here's what I planned. What do you think?
And did he ask for co-directing credit? But then, you know, your daughter directed you, as you mentioned. Did you have any moments like that with her?
Not really, because my wife, Wendy, kind of directs me in real life. So I was able to do that. No, she's very talented, and we wrote the play together too. And she initiated it with me. She brought this book called Acting: The First 6 Lessons, which was the only book on acting that my father ever gave me. It was written in 1939 by Richard Boleslavsky. He was a student of Stanislavski's, who created like the Stanislavski method. They kind of revolutionized the way actors work, a lot of us. And she said, Dad, let's write this play about this book. It's been so important to our family. And yeah, so we went at it, and it began as just a play, which we performed, and then the guy that put the money up for it, he said, you know, it's interesting to me how your family is so involved with this book. Why not bring the family into it and have you all talk about your process when you act and stuff? So my brother Jeff and my sister Cindy and my kids, we all kind of appear in it, so it's a hybrid of a documentary and the play. Kind of interesting. I thought my daughter did a great job melding those two elements, yeah.
Being in such a, you know, in a family with so many actors, are you guys giving each other advice or lessons or guidance, or is it sort of like everybody has to go on their own journey and figure things out for themselves?
No, I think we use each other a lot, you know, because we're very close as a family. My brother is my best buddy, and I you know, check him out with a lot of stuff that I'm doing, and we try things out on each other. And we haven't worked that often, just the time in this movie that you're going to see. That was so much fun. I mean, usually my MO is when I'm done working, I just want to get out of there and get home and be with my family. But working with Jeff on Baker Boys, you know, after the day was done, we'd sit in the trailer with a glass of wine and just hang for hours and come home. It was fun.
And as I understand, he got you the part in Baker Boys, right?
Oh yeah, at the time, you know, my career has always been a roller coaster, like a lot of actors, and at that particular time, I was on a little bit of a downswing, and Jeff got the script to Baker Boys. He was on a kind of a high in his career, and they wanted to, you know, someone that was kind of peaking to play his older brother. And he told young Steve Clovis, the director who was in his early 20s, this guy, when he wrote that movie, and when it was his first directorial thing. And he said, "Steve, I'd like you to meet my brother. I think he should play my brother." and I said to Jeff, I said, no, they want someone, that's kind of peaking right now. And he said, no, go in and meet Steve. So when I was a kid, or not a kid, I was in my 20s, Jeff was like 16, 17, we're 8 years difference. I was doing a lot of what we called street theater in those days. We'd perform in prisons, in hospitals, out in front of market parking lots, and just doing stuff, throwing stuff up. And I would take my friends and sometimes my little brother, and we'd go and do this stuff. And like Jeff, we went to a parking lot. We got a little flatbed truck with a funky microphone set up on it. And we'd go and stage a fight first. My dad taught us how to street fight, but also how to film fight. And we'd fight each other in the parking lot, and the crowd would gather. And then we'd jump up on the truck and put on a show of, Come Blow Your Horn or some other scene for the thing. And so on one of those days, somebody took a little Polaroid shot of Jeff and I in the back of this truck. And I brought that to my lunch with Steve Clovis. And I showed that to him, and I think that helped me get the part.
I know we're about to watch the film, but I'm wondering if your dynamic as brothers in Fabulous Baker Boys kind of mirrors your dynamic in real life, or was that something that you kind of had to... There's sort of a friendly combativeness at times.
Yeah, I think the fun thing about performing with family or working with family, and I think this is true for all professions when family works together, is you don't have to try for a lot of stuff, that you would. That you don't have to get to know somebody. There's just this stuff that goes on. Like there's a thing in this scene where with my brother, I whip at his crotch with my hand and then I go up around in his face. I mean, I used to do that all the time to him. And so that stuff just kind of pours out.
Yeah. You have a real ease and naturalness on screen, which I find really fun to watch. And I wonder sort of where that comes from for you. Is it just from having acted on camera from such an early age, or is it something that you really are thinking about as a performer? I just think you have great ease in some of your gestures and line readings that makes everything feel so natural.
Well, I think, my dad always told me that preparation is so important. So I would try to get, the hardest part of I think of what I do is learning the lines. It's just boring and hard. And he said, no, but you got to really get those so ingrained that it just comes off without even thinking about it. And then you can kind of just release it and be a vessel, spiritually, just let it come through. And I also, I had two mentors in my life, my dad and my basketball coach at UCLA, John Wooden.
Wow.
And both of those guys, both of them talked about the importance of preparation. And John Wooden had, I don't know how many of you guys have heard of his pyramid of success that he created as an English teacher before he won the 10 straight national championships. And it's all the blocks of a pyramid that you need to find success, which is the tip of the pyramid. And to coach, success had nothing to do with winning. It had to do with finding peace of mind. And how do you find peace of mind? He said, you find it by knowing when you leave the task that you've done your very best, or the game in his case. And then the blocks of the pyramid are industriousness, hard work, and enthusiasm, joy. Because Coach said anybody can bring hard work to the table, but when you bring it in combination with joy, that's when special things happen. So yeah, my dad, you know, the work ethic, he really pounded that into me. And also the word that I heard all the time from my father growing up was respect. Respect for yourself, respect for your fellow man and woman, and respect for our planet.
One of the things about rewatching The Fabulous Baker Boys, I just really felt like they don't make them like this anymore. It's such a beautiful film, and also you and Jeff both learned to play, or I don't know if you knew how to play piano already, but you were actually playing. And Michelle was singing, and there was rehearsal time. It's also just so beautifully photographed by Michael Bauhaus, who worked with Fassbinder and Scorsese. I mean, this movie is ravishing. I'm so glad you guys are gonna see this on the big screen. But yeah, and it's a first-time director. Like, you know, I'm just curious, like, what was it like doing the preparation? And obviously, you know, working with your brother was great, but like, just so much time to kind of live in these characters or, you know, that's what did you have time to kind of get into that?
Yeah, I think in the preparation of this film was unique because sometimes you'll get a script maybe even a week or 2 weeks before it's shot, and you have hardly any time to work on it and prepare. We got this months in advance. And even before Michelle was cast, Jeff and I would sit around with Steve Klobus in our living rooms, and we'd read some of the stuff together, we'd improvise, we'd play each other's roles. And then when Michelle was chosen for her part, the three of us would go out to bars near the airport, you know, where the funky singers were there, and we'd say our lines to each other and just kind of absorb the feeling of what was going on with these singers. And that was really great. And Steve Kloves, amazing guy. I mean, you know, he was so young, and I think he did just a great job. And the Ballhouse family, you know, he had all his sons working on that.
Oh, because his son Florian is a DP, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's a big deal now.
Yeah.
But in those days, he was just, you know, I don't think he was like a loader or focus puller or something. But yeah, we had a few families working.
Yeah, I'm saying the whole movie's a family affair.
Yeah. But why did my brother get to have Michelle sit on the piano in a red dress and not me? Why couldn't that have been me?
Did you watch them filming that very famous scene, making Whoopi?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I couldn't be there.
I mean, that shot is amazing. It just sort of circles her on the piano, what Michael pulled out. It's just incredible. I'm so excited for y'all to watch it on the big screen. One thing also I noticed watching the clip reel and also revisiting your filmography over the past week or so, you know, including in films like The Landlord, the Hal Ashby film, which I love, and Norma Ray, which is incredible. But even continuing on, you know, watching the clips from Will and Grace and Blackish, you often play characters that are sort of, you know, dealing with really sort of like heavy social issues, even One Night in Miami as well, you know, whether it's about like race or sexuality.
I mean, are these roles that you are actively seeking out, or do you think that people are sort of saying, Beau Bridges can handle this kind of, you know, complex role dealing with, you know, social issues?
You know, I have a hard time turning down work. Yeah, my business is so crazy. You know, you can be on top of the world one day and then down at the bottom next. So when I'm done with the job, I wonder if I'm ever going to get hired again, to tell you the truth. So it's hard for me to turn it down, and I've just been fortunate to have some good stories come through the pike for me, and that's what I love about what I do. I'm blessed to be one of the storytellers. I think that's such an ancient situation, you know, people gathering around the campfire telling stories about the village down around the bend. And now with the new technology, I mean, you can watch a film on your watch now, for goodness sake. And, you know, it's been amazing I mean, when I was a kid, there was no TV. I listened to the radio, Red Rider, The Lone Ranger. My dad did voices on some of those shows. And then I remember when TV came in and The Lone Ranger became television, and my friend Pat had the first television, and we'd all go over there and sit around and watch The Lone Ranger and Beanie and Cecil and all that stuff. And, it's been exciting to be a part of this growing industry. And, what an important part a film festival like this Sonoma International Film Festival is, because you guys help us get the word out about what we do, and the stories couldn't be told unless there was an audience like you guys out there to see it.
It is remarkable, when you're mentioning, like, when you started working in this industry, technology, everything has changed so much. I mean, what do you attribute to having such a long career, steady career, working a lot? I mean, obviously you said you like to work and you don't like to turn down jobs, but just like having that kind of steady career that like feels very grounded, what do you attribute that to?
Well, I think there's a lot of luck involved, I've had some good ones, good stories come by my way to tell. That's a lot of it. I think it's important then when you do have a task in front of you that you're prepared and you try to do your very best, which I always at least try to do. But a lot of it, it's a kind of a crazy business. You just don't know how things are going to be accepted, or if they will be, if they're ever going to be seen. I mean, I've done some things that never got out there.
Yeah.
But, it's that old thing about how the journey is sometimes the most important thing and the thing to really enjoy. You can't get caught up in what's going to happen with it. You just, when you're in there, you try to be present and do your best.
You mentioned your father instilling this work ethic in you, and also the Pyramid of Success from John Wooden. What has that been something that you have, passed on to your kids as well? What's some of the advice that you've given them for navigating the industry?
I gave all of them the Pyramid of Success, but I don't know. At this point in my life, I'm kind of learning from my children. I go light on the advice.
Smart man. You've also done a lot of directing. I mentioned you directed your family many times, and you've also been directed by actors. But you've worked with so many amazing directors going back to the '60s. Were you always kind of trying to learn from them? Like, what did you learn from them when you were, what did you steal from them as a director?
Yeah, I've worked with some really great ones. I mean, my brother Jeff and I, we bookended Hal Ashby's career.
Yeah.
I did The Landlord, and then Jeff finished with 8 Million Ways to Die. And then in between, he did a few good ones, like Being There, Harold and Maude, and Shampoo. But to get him at the very beginning, that was something. And he was a real force, Hal. He was a wonderful director, a wonderful man. And what I learned from him is that life is a party. That when we came to work, he played music all through the day. Pearl Bailey was in the movie with me, and he got her a stove so she could cook hominy and grits for us in between scenes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he saw life as a festival like this is. And so I learned that from Hal. Steven Soderbergh, I did a couple of things with him. Interesting dude. He has no lights at all on the set. Everything is available light, whatever it is. And I mean, he lights scenes with a matchstick, that kind of stuff. And he began as a cinematographer. Yeah. Another wonderful director I worked with was Del Shores, who did Sordid Lives. I don't know how many of you saw that. That's a wild one. Yeah, and Daddy's Dying, Who's Got the Will? That was another one of his. Yeah. Del, he's a really great guy. He's also does a lot of stand-up. And I like to see his stand-up. It's pretty raw. And we were down south shooting a film, and I heard that he was going to do stand-up. I think it was in Georgia somewhere. And I said, "Where is it, Del?" And he told me, I can't remember the name of the place. I said, "Oh, I want to come see you." And he said, "Nah, Wendy and I want to come see you." He said, "No, I don't think you should go to that one." And I said, "Why not, Del?" He says, "Well, it's a gay trailer park, and I don't know, if and he's just, Del Shores, man, is outrageous. I must tell you, you guys gotta check this guy out." So Wendy and I went, and all these naked dudes were running around there. And Sordid Lives is this crazy movie that especially, well, it ran for 20 years in Palm Springs. It was popular. It was popular with the gays and the grays. And so all the people at this trailer park, they knew all the parts. They could speak the lines of the show. And we did a little parade through the trailer park. All these naked guys running around. And Wendy told Del, can I say that, Wen? Wendy told Del that she hadn't seen so many penises in one place in her life. But they were really cute because the guys would come up to talk to us and they'd all have their hands here hiding their crotches.
You were like, actually, that was the comedy show we wanted to go to. Well, I'm curious, what more do you want to do in your career? Is there any director you want to work with? Any dream project? Like, what's still on the horizon for Beau Bridges?
Well, I mean, at this point, I really cherish my family. My wife is my rock, and we have a really great time together. That's kind of where, my heart lies right now. I still enjoy working, and I do. I got a new series I'm in right now. Remember Matlock, the old show? Well, they're doing it again with Kathy Bates as Matlock.
And who do you play?
She's Matlock, and I'm the CEO of the law firm that she infiltrates.
Nice. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that. I'm sure the audience has some questions for Beau, so if you'd like to ask some questions, we can do a few questions. Just raise your hand, I'll call on you. Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
What's the favorite movie you've ever performed in?
Did everyone hear the question? Okay, so it's what is your favorite movie you've ever performed in?
Gosh, probably the last one I did, It's like, that question is like when people ask my wife who her favorite child is. She says, the one that's standing in front of me.
Another question for Beau. Yeah, right here.
What did you learn the most from your father, Lloyd?
What did you learn the most from your father, Lloyd?
I think what I mentioned before about respect, I think that's the word that resonates when I think of my dad. Yeah.
Any good tales from Sea Hunt?
Yeah. So I'm going to throw that back out to the audience and I'm going to challenge you to see if anyone can shout out the name of Mike Nelson's boat.
All right, who knows it?
No, not my wife. That's unfair.
Wendy, you can't answer this one.
I'll give you a clue. It starts with A.
Did someone say it? Raise your hand if you know it.
Anarchy. No, that would have been good. No, it was the Argonaut. Oh yeah. Dun, 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 dun. I did 2 of them. I think Jeff did a couple of them. My mom was in one.
Yeah.
My sister. Yeah. It was a great run. It only ran, I think, for 5 years, but then they played it over and over and over again. Yeah, my dad loved doing that one because he always loved the ocean, he loved the sea.
More questions? Yes, right here. From George.
So, have you ever howled at the full moon on Kauai while you were destroying a lot of valuable artwork?
So the question is from George Sumner if Beau has howled at the moon in Hawaii while destroying artwork.
Yeah, no, that was terrible. My friend George, who voiced that, a wonderful painter, and he had a bunch of posters of his beautiful art, and he came out to the house in Kauai. We've had a house there for 30 years, and George loves to howl at the moon, and I kind of got into that with him, and we were howling at the moon, and he had all these posters of his beautiful art that he mistakenly put underneath where I was sitting, and I crushed all his art. I'm sorry, George.
Okay, oh, all the way in the back. I see your hand, yes.
Thanks very much. Was there one actor or two as a child, teenager, or young to your career that touched your life, impacted you, and you were wow?
Was there an actor in your young life who impacted you? And we cannot say Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I had a job with an actor that I idolized, Marlon Brando. The movie was called, Wendy, what's the name of that movie?
Someone look it up.
No, yeah, it was, what? Yeah, no, but what happened was, it was called Child's Play.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and Marlon was set to do it, and he had, it was kind of a down spiral of his career. People weren't hiring him. He was a problem maker and all this kind of stuff, but I just couldn't wait to work with him. Sidney Lumet was directing the movie, and Sidney had directed Marlon's first film. I forget the name of it right now, but it's a famous one. What was it? No, it was about the guys in the hospital, all the men. Anyway, we had a lot of rehearsals on that one, and David Merrick, the famous Broadway producer, was producing the movie, and he would never come down to the rehearsals. He would send guys, young guys, to come and say what he wanted to say to us. And Marlon, during the rehearsals, Marlon would go in these long stream of consciousness, talking about all the different characters, not only his own, but everyone else's, and the story and the script, and he was just fascinating, and I was just in awe of him. And one day, one of these young guys came down to represent David Merrick, and he said, Mr. Merrick would like, he doesn't really like this idea that you had, Mr. Brando, and Marlon said to him, he said, look, tell David if he wants to have something to say to us, to get his ass down here and tell us himself. And, everyone kind of went like that. And then we went on with the rehearsal, and then one of Sidney Lumet, the director, one of his assistants, came in about 10 minutes later and said, Mr. Brando, Mr. Merrick would like to speak to you on the telephone. Marlon went in, talked, and came back and said, he just fired me. So I never got to work with my hero. But he replaced him with, oh my gosh, the Music Man. What?
Robert Preston.
Yeah, Robert Preston, who another great actor, but so different than Marlon. Yeah, so.
But you got all that rehearsal time with Marlon.
Another great actor I got to work with was, oh. Come on, Wind, help me out. In the, oh, well, that's because you like George Clooney. He took her to lunch, and she's so excited about that. No, oh.
Do you remember the movie?
Yeah, what was the movie about, you know, the famous court case? Oh, Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon. Okay.
Yeah, I did a movie with Jack Lemmon, and he did a great thing that, you know, did so many great movies, and I was just in awe of him. And every scene that we did together, he would whisper just so that the actors real close to him could say, he'd go, "It's magic time."
Couple more questions for Beau. Okay, right here.
So the film you were thinking of with Marlon Brando was called The Men.
The Men, thank you. That's good.
And then
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, Lloyd Bridges and your mom, Dorothy, were very sweet people, and my mom knew them from a restaurant in Arnold.
Oh, up at by Bear Valley, yeah.
Yeah, Bear Valley. Yeah, so my mom and dad had a restaurant, and they would come in and say hi. So they felt like they were good friends with them in Arnold when your dad would come in a brown station wagon.
Yeah, what was the name of the restaurant? Do you
It was
remember?
called Just Delicious.
Oh, I know that. I remember that place.
Okay, yeah, so anyway, but I was gonna say that your parents were such lovely people, as my mom and dad were, and I just wanna know, what did you learn from them to become a parent, you and Wendy, to be such a good parent of your children, from your parents?
Yeah, you know, my mom was kind of the center of our family. We called her the general. And she really ran the show, kind of like my wife Wendy does to my family. But she organized all the, you know, the get-togethers and all of that. She had a wild sense of humor. She was, you know, and she and my dad met in college, UCLA. They were married over 60 years, I think. Wendy and I are coming up on our 40th pretty soon.
All right, we can do one last question. Anybody out there have a really good one? Oh, right here. Yes.
What was it like revisiting the house in Sonoma on 3rd Street?
What was,
Sonoma's become
Yeah.
it's about Sonoma and the house on 3rd Street.
Yeah, it's on 3rd Street. My dad was
West or east?
west. Yeah. My dad, it was a little tiny house. My dad was an altar boy at the St. Francis Catholic Church. And we first found it about 20 years ago when Wendy and our kids were little guys. And we went there, and when we realized that was the house, because it had a persimmon tree in the front yard, and my dad loved persimmons, and he told us about that. So he was gone at that time, but we saw the tree and we knew that was it. So we were standing outside, and these guys were doing a lot of work on the house. They were remodeling, they were tearing up the foundation, and we stood there and looked at it, and this one workman came up to me and said, "Yeah, you're in the right place." And so they invited us in. We got to go inside the house. It was really thrilling. And then I noticed that the guys were pulling up foundations, pieces of this cement, adobe or whatever it was, pieces of foundation, and throwing it away. It was in a big pile. And I said, "You guys mind if I take some of these pieces with me?" And so I handed it out to my brother and sister and all our kids and the grandkids and stuff. It was pretty cool.
Well, it's been an honor to talk to you, to hear your stories, and yeah, to share your roots in Sonoma. So thank you so much, and congratulations. So thank you so much for sharing your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beau Bridges, everyone.
Have fun tonight.